Have you ever felt that little nagging negative voice in the back of your head telling you you can't do something? Telling you as you start to set money aside for an emergency fund of what's the point? It's always going to get spent. Something's going to happen anyway. Or you shouldn't start investing. That's for rich people. These stories that hold us back from our real financial future, even though we know the fundamentals. These are negative money stories that are coming in and holding us back. And to really excel in money, to reach all your financial goals, you have to do the work to rewrite those stories because money is emotional. So today, we want to talk about 3 steps you can take to start improving your money mindset and working towards your goals. Let's get started. Mamas, when I was younger, I thought all the struggles with money could be boiled down to understanding. Do we know how to budget? Do we know the fundamentals? Do we know how debt works? And if we knew those things, we could master our money. But here's the thing. Money is simple. It's not that hard to make a budget, to figure out where your money is coming in and where it's going out. It's simple addition and subtraction. And yet people get stuck because it's not just pure understanding. There's mindset and there's stories behind it. There's internal roadblocks we put out for ourselves. And at the core of it, money is an emotional thing. It impacts every area of our lives, and acting like it's dollars and cents can hold us back. So today we're going to talk about money mindset and how to identify where you could be holding yourself back mentally. And the first thing is to start with awareness. I think a lot of us don't even know what our money stories are, right? It's not something we've ever thought about. It comes oftentimes from childhood and lived experiences from before we were even aware that it was a money issue, right? You hear stories about my first money memory was, asking my mom for something in the grocery store and her telling me I couldn't afford it, or telling me dad only gave me so much money, right? There's these limiting stories, and oftentimes they're negative because those are what root themselves more deeply in our minds, right? So going back, writing down what are your first money memories and what do those things mean to you? What do you believe about money? Go through some basic thoughts. Do I believe that rich people are inherently evil or mean? Do I think money is a negative thing that makes people not as giving and caring? Do I think that there's never enough money to go around and I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop, right? Start doing some journaling, writing down those stories, writing down your feelings about money, and checking yourself. I'll have a download in the links below here to a money mindset workbook. It's completely free, and you can actually just look at about 15 different comments and mark whether you think those things are true or false. And then look at it and say, do the things I mark true more align with a scarcity mindset or an abundance mindset, an idea that there's always enough money to go around? And then tie it in, right? Do a little bit more journaling, take one more step and say, how has this played into my life? How has this changed the decisions that I would make? How has it changed the way I handle money? Am I constantly telling myself I'm bad with money, right? Because I don't think anyone is naturally good or bad with money. We can all learn, we can all grow, we can all find our priorities. So start with that awareness, identify those money stories, and build them back. And while you're doing it, try not to do it with any judgment. Try not to think, wow, that's crazy, I don't actually believe that. Just let it come out, and then we're going to move on to the next step. And the next step is to rewrite to positive money stories. Now, if you guys have been following me for a while, you know I kind of hate affirmations. They're a little bit silly because if you don't actually believe them, you're just saying nonsense, right? We can all lie to ourselves like we can lie to anybody else. But the first step is to rewrite the affirmations and know what we want to believe. And this is, for moms, one of the best ways to do this is, what do I want my kids to believe about money? That there's always enough to go around, that we can afford this, it just might take longer to save, that we have different priorities, and that our money goes to what is most important to us. Take the stories that you have from the first step that might be holding you back, that might be limiting you, and rewrite them. Write them in a positive frame. Say them as if your child is saying them to you, and then how would you correct them? What would you rather them say, right? Rewrite those positive money stories and mantras. But the third step is the most important step, right, guys? So we've done the analysis, we've looked at ourselves, we've done some journaling, we've rewritten to the positive stories, and those are stories we're going to remind ourselves every day. But the third step is to create and validate those stories, create ways to validate our new beliefs, because if we just say them to ourselves, it's not just going to magically manifest into our new belief. When something happens, when we get set back, when we blow a tire right after we, built up our emergency fund and now we have to spend our emergency fund on new tires, those bad stories are going to eke back in. Those, I'm just bad with money. Those, I just can never get ahead. those things are going to sneak back in and start to eat away at our new positive beliefs. So we need to create ways to validate those stories. What does that look like? I think for me, one of the things that we do every morning is I write down my goals, my long-term goals for the year. I have 10 things that I write down every single morning, and it takes me about 5 minutes. It's a silly exercise, but I write it down and it puts it in the front and center of my mind. But the next thing you have to do is to create little ways to remind yourself that those things are true. So if you are trying to teach yourself that you are good with money, that you can save money, that might look like setting up an automatic transfer once a week of $5 from your checking account to your savings account. And $5 is less than $1 a day. It's a small amount. But every time that happens, you tell yourself that you can save because you're proving it. You're doing that saving. When you are feeling that impulse to buy something in a store, remind yourself that I am responsible with money and I choose where it goes. And either put it in your cart and walk around the store and decide whether or not you want it again the next time, or say, I'll come back in 24 hours if I want it, and show yourself that you can build in a little bit of space, that you can make a more rational, thoughtful decision, but start finding ways to prove it to yourself, to be good. And that comes back to one of the biggest struggles most people have with budgeting, which is they look at their budget and they say, oh my God, I spend $900 a month on groceries. That's way too much. I read on somebody's blog that they only spend $250 a month. So I'm going to set a new goal that I'm only going to spend $300 a month on groceries. Now, to cut your grocery budget by 2/3, it's setting yourself up for failure. It's too much. It's too hard. So set little goals. Say, I'm going to cut the grocery budget by $50 this month. I'm going to cut it by $100 this month. And then make it work. And when it happens, tell yourself, say, look, I achieved a goal. Reflect back and celebrate a little bit, even if it seems like a small thing, because you're retraining your brain. You're giving it that positive feedback, that little bit of serotonin, happiness, that you can do these things, that you can rewrite those stories. So when we think about our money stories and what's holding us back, we want to do 3 key steps to make sure we're building better stories for ourselves. 1, build that awareness. Go back, think about those stories, think about how they've impacted your life so far and how you want them to change. 2, rewrite those stories to be more positive. Create some money mantras that you are going to train yourself to believe by step 3, creating little ways to validate those stories. Have a system for every day, every week to be proving yourself that those are your real mantras and that those are real and believable things. And if that means that one of your negative money stories is that there's never enough money to go around, that might look like giving a little bit to charity each week, giving $1 to the homeless person you see on the street, right? These little things that there's always enough, there's always abundance, because you can do this and you can we do hard things every single day. I think that's one of the most common stories that we hear is just, money is hard, I'm bad at money. You know what? There's so many harder things that you do all the time than money. You can do this too. Remember to hit that subscribe button so you can get easy, quick money advice every single week. We'll see you next week, mamas.